Network Entertainment.
She was like, yes, because you're always trying to
Please.
please your dad. You never felt safe around your dad, and never really had a strong like father figure in that aspect who gave you love and care in the way that you needed as a child. And so how that reflects to you when you're seeking out relationships or when you're dating is that you pursue men who you have to chase after, who you have to appease, and who you but then the habit of you chasing and appeasing has been such a pattern for you that you think it's normal. And so that's why you keep ending up in that cycle. She was like, it's okay, you don't have to say anything, because she knew what was going to happen next. And I broke down crying. It was a huge, huge breakthrough.
Hi, this is Mirza Season. Welcome to You Can Do This, a podcast that'll help you achieve your dreams and goals one episode at a time. What are you waiting for? Let's go! Have you had it with dating? Maybe you've experienced the fear of rejection or the frustration of being ghosted, or you've been swept off your feet only to realize that those butterflies in your stomach were red flags. Dating can be scary and overwhelming. Whether your goal is to find the one ASAP or just to have a fun and active dating life until you're ready for a serious commitment, we've got the right coach for you. Back on the show is a relationship coach from the Relationship School and host of the 2024 winner of the Philippine Podcast Search, Nuggets of Nikki, which is about having healthy relationships. She previously worked with me as an editor at Summit Media. Her diverse professional and personal background makes her the perfect guide to help us navigate the complexities of modern dating. Please welcome back Nikki Porter.
Hello.
Hi, Nikki.
Yay. Oh my gosh. Thank you for having me back.
Thank you for being here during Love Month. So, time for an update on your current love and dating life. Only the parts that you're willing to share.
Yeah, of course. Well, I am happily in a relationship right now. And it is, it's a long distance relationship, but it's something that, like over time, like you really just try and adjust to, because again, you don't see each other all the time, which is not necessarily a bad thing.
Right.
But yes, we have been going on for more than 10 months already. And so it's really exciting. It's really nice to have someone who also is very patient with me. Because it's like, like, especially when it comes to like the hard conversations or if we have conflict, that's when I really found out like, okay, am I really healed? Because for real, it really does mirror back to you the parts of you that you need to address.
Yes.
And so it really has challenged me in that way. And thank God that he has the patience to understand and also learn like why I'm doing this, why I'm a relationship coach, why these things are important to me. And so, yeah, he also takes the time to try and understand.
Is he game about like when you practice the theories on him?
Well, yeah, but then obviously you don't do that when it's the hard conversation. I know it's gonna be like nagging na. But I do it after the fact. So it's like, for example, if I see content that's somewhat like in relation to what just happened, I say like, babe, this is not to attack. But I feel like this can be helpful.
Right.
And then for him naman, I sent one to him recently and he was like, okay, I'm gonna save it. And then like there was one exchange that we had very recently and he was like, I hear what you're saying. Like literally, I was like, I know where this came from. But at the same time, it was just like, it's nice to see him try.
Right.
Even if it's awkward or weird, like the verbiage, for him wanting to try and make it better or to be more present, know how to validate. I think that's a huge step, like in the right direction.
My husband often says, "Are you coaching me right now?" Okay, I'll stop.
Diba? Yeah, it's hard. Like that's why I always have to remind myself the parent is not a client. He is not a client.
Tell us a bit about how you became a relationship coach. Like, what made you decide? Like, what happened in your life?
What happened in my life? Well, to put it briefly,
Okay.
I was at the tail end of a situationship that ended by way of ghosting.
Okay.
So, and that was particularly painful because I really thought that we had a great connection, and I had the assumption, the key term is assumption, no clarity, that he wanted to pursue a long distance relationship, and but even after like we talked about it or tried to talk about it, like I didn't hear from him as a response to my response to him during that hard talk. And then so yeah, that left me hanging in a really confused, angry space. But at the same time, I started seeing the content online about like relationships. The first one of the first things I saw was about like attachment styles. It's like, oh my god, he's so avoidant. Like,
You found the jargon.
yeah, he's so avoidant. And then, but then, really, as time went on, there were other related posts outside of like the context of attachment styles, and it got me wondering, like, why isn't this common knowledge, and how come a lot of people don't really know about it? And so for me, at least on a personal journey, I wanted to try and figure out like what are these things about myself that I can improve on. And then I also started interviewing on Heard on Thursdays coaches in
Yes.
different
Okay.
areas, and
Right,
one of
right.
them was you as well. And so I realized like, oh, there's so many different avenues and so many different disciplines in which you can be a coach. And so like I love the energy that coaches would bring to the conversation as well. And so I thought like, maybe I could be a coach, but then in what niche? So at the same time, like my focus was I was still trying to learn from relationships and stuff. And I was like,
Right.
oh, why don't we combine the two? And then so I started looking for courses. I found one in which a prerequisite was like, know your shit first.
Oh, do the inner work.
Yeah, you gotta do the inner work. Most of it, at least, if you're not able to do all of it. And then pursue the training to become a relationship coach.
Cool.
So yeah, I did it for 18 months, and then I graduated last year. And so now I'm certified.
Yay! She turned her pain into her purpose.
Exactly. Because one thing I've always learned, and one thing that I've always carried with me, this guidance counselor from high school, I visited her after like my long internship in the States after college. And I went back to her because I was reading through another breakup very like long time ago, about a decade ago. And she told me that like think of love as an energy, and in physics, energy can neither be created nor destroyed, but it can be transferred into something else. So I've always carried that lesson with me. So it's like maybe the love, if it was love that you had for this person didn't work out, that love still stays with you, but you can put it into something else. You can put that passion into something else. So it's like it's never gonna, just because you stop loving someone doesn't mean that love from you ever goes away. Like you are very capable, and you don't really know the depths of how much you can love or love again after a breakup.
Our guidance counselors were first coaches, right?
Yeah. Especially her. Like sometimes she was very strict, but other times like she just gave the harsh truth
Right.
that helped me snap out of it.
She told it like it was. Mm-hmm. And today you're gonna do that.
Yeah, here we go.
So you've gone out on a lot of dates, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
And how has all your dating experience helped you find eventually the guy that you're with now? If it were like evolutionary transfer of love.
Oh, okay, sure. One thing that I have learned or have always kept in mind was throughout every situationship, relationship, partner, whoever that I have been with and and in which like it never worked out, the common denominator has always been me. And the thing is, even if I knew that at the time, I didn't know what to do with that information. It's like, okay, so not to say that I'm the problem, but then I don't really know where to go from there. And, with also understanding, my knowledge of relationships now, it really helped me dive deep in, the insecurities that I have, the childhood experiences that I still carry into my relationships, into my dating life then, which I can now address because I know where it's coming from and that it's just a projection of something that happened to me. And when you get ahead of those things, you're able to become more intentional in what it is that you want, what you're looking for in a partner. And it also, it helps you set a boundary and you give yourself permission to say no
Right.
in partners or matches that just don't align with you.
Right. Wow. So, what do you think the biggest problems or issues are with dating now? Like, what do women fear or what are they plagued with besides ghosting?
So many dating terms, my goodness. That's the ghosting, there's orbiting,
What's
there's
that?
there's pocketing. There's so many ings. There's so many gerunds. But really it's like so what did they say? Orbiting is basically having someone that you previously dated still look at your stories,
Okay.
still likes your posts and whatever, but will not. It's like they're keeping you in orbit.
Oh, just in case.
Yeah, just in case. And then breadcrumbing, as we all know, is like, when someone is
Paasa.
paasa, like leading you on, but then it not going anywhere at all.
Right.
And then pocketing is actually a recent term that I learned, which is basically you're not introducing who you're dating to your loved ones, to your family.
You're just in the pocket.
Because you're still not sure. Yeah. So
okay.
so many, like that's just a few. But I think there's a lot of fear now, especially with online dating, I guess, with being catfish, with being scammed, with being even outside of that, like worry that they'll never find the one. Like there's so many things at play here, and online dating kind of made it more exponentially scary.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
worrisome for daters. But there are ways now that you can actually try and combat that or address those things. So, for example, if you feel like you're being catfished or scammed, then and this is something I learned from Coach V also. You can do a reverse photo search on Google of their
Yes,
photo
yes.
on Tinder or whatever the app is, to see
If they're a Getty image.
if they're a Getty image, if they have a different name, if they really are a lawyer or something. I don't know.
Usually these are the ones who don't want to video call, right?
Yes. Well, I mean, for the most part, yes. If they are catfishing, then definitely.
Like they're working in a mine in Africa and there's no signal.
Yeah. So it's really you and trust your instinct there. And if you feel like this is a little questionable, na parang they don't want to do a phone call,
Right.
at least a phone call, and won't do a video call, won't try and meet up. Like, wag ka na umasa. Don't waste your time on somebody you have to coax out to meet, because there might be other things at play there that you don't
With
know
all
about.
those scary prospects that you mentioned, how can a woman who wants to get into the dating scene be more courageous?
Well, it ties to what a very strong trend is now also in 2025, and I've seen it in the trends posted by dating apps, saying that women are far more intentional now. Like they don't want to settle for less than what they're going for, and so it's really it's they want to be able to be unabashed in the way in addressing, like,
Right.
by the way, like, I'm looking for somebody who's, he, like, they really want to improve on their communication skills, like they know where their flaws are and they're working on it, and like who's self-aware but can also know how to integrate, how, like, better behavior into something healthier. So it's really even getting specific with what it is that you want. That's how most women daters are trying to be now. And they've seen already a pattern of that in the tail end of 2024, that they do want something that is not just something fleeting or wishy-washy. They want something that is just like something not exactly what they're looking for, but are aligned with them.
Right. And they're not ashamed to say
Yes,
so.
yes.
Even Pinays.
Yes. Well, yeah, this is actually a study from Bumble, and they did a survey with Filipino daters on the app. And this study is actually focusing on the Filipino dating scene, that women are going to be more open and transparent with what it is that they want. So don't be ashamed. Okay. And set boundaries. Like,
Right.
it's because especially if you're a woman who's dating in your 30s or 40s, saying no should not be a problem. But then I hope you don't, like, the trick to that is not thinking that you're running out of options. You're just narrowing them down. So you're filtering out the people who just don't match with you. And eventually you'll get to whoever it is that you're going to meet. And each person, even if whether it's a good or bad date, it still makes for a good story
Right.
in the long run. And so yeah, it's more on women, because we're the ones who are kind of a little bit more intentional,
Right.
who want to be more intentional, who lead with our emotions when it comes to seeking out a relationship.
Can you give examples? Like, if you say, don't be afraid to be specific, or don't be afraid to set boundaries.
So examples of, like, boundaries, let's say, or
about like specific things to say or indicate.
Specific things to say. For example, it's really seeing, like, there's a level of emotional maturity. Sometimes they will even ask, like, have you gone to therapy, or like, or at least, like, they want to know what your take is on therapy, on coaching.
Right.
Is it something that you've considered at least?
Right.
Because that at least gives an inkling of their understanding of themselves and where they fall short and where they want to improve.
Right.
And then also another example.
Do you still live with your mother? Everyone will say yes.
Well, let's say, I mean, sometimes it can be, for the most part, yes, that can be somewhat of a red flag. Maybe there's a notion
In
of
the
him
Philippines,
being,
where all the men live at home.
yeah, and there's a notion of them probably being like a mama's boy, and so it's kind of like you're not going to be in a relationship with them. You're going to be in a relationship with
The
him
mom.
and the mom.
Right.
So there's a lot, and so if that's the case, if you live with your mother, then how involved is your mother, like, when it is in your life and the decisions that you make? Does her opinion, like, matter to you, and, like, it steers you to the decisions that you're
So parang job
make?
interview. How are the men taking it?
Because really, it's being unapologetic.
Yeah,
Because it's
yeah.
really, you don't want to commit to somebody in which, like, there's some vagueness into
Right.
their commitment to you.
No surprises.
Yeah.
Right.
So, like, to be that transparent, and maybe you can be like, I'm sorry, this sounds like a job interview.
But it is.
But it's like, you can say that I've had an experience with someone who also lived with her mom, and, like, I just want to know how the dynamic is with you and your mother in that sense. So just, like, be transparent and unapologetic, and the questions that you ask, you don't have to bombard them with all the questions in the first date,
Step up, guys.
but really just lean into that curiosity on, like, getting to know who this person really is. How did their last relationship end, and what have you learned about yourself even in that last relationship too that you need to work on, those things. So at least you know their level of maturity in that aspect.
Yeah. Wow. So hard, and yet you make it easy in the long run
Yes, it's
so that you don't waste years.
exactly, because it's hard enough as it is, right? Like there are so many people who want to say that they want to be in a relationship. I want to be in a relationship. The question is, are you ready to be in a relationship?
Right.
Are you ready for, the hard conversations, the conflict resolution that you'll need in a relationship if what you're looking for is long term?
Right.
So might as well prepare yourself now, and also mirror that back to yourself, not just to the person that you're looking to be a partner with. So
How about for those who are not ready to commit? Like maybe they just got out of a long relationship and they just wanna have fun, get their
ego back.
yes, that too. What's your advice for them?
Be transparent, because you can't control what people are looking for online. But if you're transparent in saying like, hey, I'm just looking to have fun, like even if you didn't just get out of relationship, my workload, honestly, I'll be honest with you, my workload is I work 80 hours a week, and sometimes I just need a night where I just don't think, and I just want something that's fun and casual right now. And so there's no, you shouldn't feel shameful about that. And it's, as long as you don't, because it's much worse if you meet someone without really being clear on what it is that you're looking for in this person, so that at least it's, again, clear as
Right.
day that this is what you want. Because sometimes you can be something casual, but then not having that discussion, because the other person will assume
Yeah.
that, oh,
Yeah.
we've been seeing each other a few times.
Right.
So again, just be transparent, be unapologetic.
Yes.
And
As
in
men have
stating.
been for centuries.
Yes. It's like that trend in women, was it women in male dominated fields? Like that trend.
Yes. Those are
like-
so funny.
Yeah. So just state what it is that
You
you,
should do
want.
skits like that.
It's an idea.
So when we were talking about this episode, you mentioned current trends in dating, such as sober dating, slow dating, and micro dating. Tell us what those are about.
I think that micro dating is like micromances. That's actually the term. So from the trends that I've read about, so slow dating, the ones that you mentioned, we'll do that first. Slow dating is seeking out more genuine connections. So it's really taking your time and getting to know somebody. Sometimes you will agree to not be intimate with this person because you want to really see if you
Right.
guys are on the same page about where this is going, or if you guys develop this deep connection about getting to know each other, and just really allowing it to just really allowing that pace and see where it goes. And then sober dating is more of you going on dates where there's no alcohol involved. Yeah.
So your judgment is not clouded.
It's not clouded, and you don't have liquid courage with you. You have to build that courage up yourself. However, it's not necessarily
So lunch.
yeah, lunch, coffee, or even like going out to like the museum, or like having a shared experience, I think is
Right.
very what do you call this? It develops a much deeper understanding of one another. For example, if you go to a museum, you're like, what do you think about this? And it's like, oh, this looks kind of happy. Really? It reminds me of my childhood. And so so you really you bond in that kind of in that kind of scene, outside of you being in a tight bar and like
Right.
you trying to look into each other's eyes, but it's really dark. That kind of thing. And then micromancing is this trend that it's basically adding a quote unquote love language, which is, making each other playlists, making each other or sending each other memes. Like they're acknowledging that this is a way of people connect to one another. And it's almost like they're not going for like grandiose kind of gestures, like the small, okay, a micro, like the small romantic gestures are cute enough because the online world has allowed us to be more connected. And so we're using or utilizing whatever it is that we see, whether it be content or, playlists or music or art, and using that as a way to quote unquote court the other person. But I mean, it goes both ways. Like you can send each other memes, playlists, songs, whatever it may be.
Right. What are some of the red and green flags that we interchange, or like, are there red flags that we thought were green flags and vice versa? Like, for example, being swept off your feet is now called love bombing.
Yeah, right. And I think to be love bombed is, of course, that's kind of a warning sign. So if they want to rush into things with you, if they say I love you very soon, maybe after the second date or something, they call you their soulmate, or like you're
They
the
whisk
one
you
for
off.
me. Yes, and they give you these gifts to really try and lure you in. It's a manipulation for them
Right.
to isolate you from
Right.
and like have you believe that you are in some kind of fairy tale. But sometimes you really have to live by the adage, if it's too good to be true, it probably is.
So if that happens to you, what's your advice?
Like be self-aware, because sometimes you're like you mentioned earlier, butterflies in your stomach.
Yeah.
Those butterflies in your stomach does not necessarily mean
Right.
that it's like this chemistry or
Right.
this spark.
Chemistry is the key word.
Sometimes that is just stress that your body is feeling when you meet someone, or the anxiety that you feel when you meet someone who excites you too, because that excitement the excitement that you feel can translate into your body as anxiety in knowing like, oh my god, I really want to impress this person, and so you want to keep seeing each other. So it's not necessarily a good thing to live by, because sometimes the butterflies are what do you call this? They're reminiscent. Like they only come up when a certain kind of person that you date, a certain kind of personality that you date comes up or that you meet. So just be very mindful.
So if we're excited, let's say our pattern is we're excited by the bad boy. And then the boring boy, oh my God, walang spark. He's so boring, walang chemistry. But actually, may childhood dysfunction pala yun.
The boring one?
No, on the one that excites you, if you have like a bad boy pattern.
Yeah. So because when an example for me, I'll make myself an example. The people that I used to date would never want to commit. And so
And did you wonder why?
I actually went to therapy.
Okay.
Yeah. And I didn't really know. Initially, I went to therapy because I wanted to know why this keeps happening to me. I didn't know she was going to go that deep into my childhood and realize that it was actually trauma.
It's always childhood.
Exactly. The reason why was that I was afraid of like my dad, because he was kind of like, in my childhood memory, he was always quick to anger.
Okay.
So I would always walk on eggshells, and whatever it is that he said I should do, I will do.
Right.
And so it was really just to appease him so that he doesn't get upset. And I didn't, and so I forgot what my therapist told me in that session, but it was a breakthrough session actually, because when like she told me, so the reason why you've been caught up in these kinds of situations with guys is it's because of your dad. And I was like, what do you mean? And then she was like, yes, because you're always trying to
Please.
please your dad. You never felt safe around your dad, and never really had a strong like father figure in that aspect, who gave you love and care in the way that you needed as a child. And so how that reflects to you when you're seeking out relationships or when you're dating is that you pursue men who you have to chase after, who you have to appease, and who you but then the habit of you chasing and appeasing has been such a pattern for you that you think it's normal. And so that's why you keep ending up in that cycle. And so for me, I was like, I think I had like a few seconds of silence, and she was like, "It's okay, you don't have to say anything," because she knew what was going to happen next. And I broke down crying. It was a huge, huge breakthrough, and that was super helpful for me in realizing that. And then, so like if you need the professional help to help you find out like what are these chains or patterns that you have, so that you can break out of it and figure out like, okay, so what's the relationship that I really want? How do I want to feel
Right.
in a relationship, in a healthy relationship? That absolutely like helped me talaga. So in your question of what's like a behavior that you used to think was a red flag but was actually a green flag? I think I would probably say like when someone is quote unquote boring.
Yeah.
So
I used to be like that. So boring.
true.
Not challenging.
Yeah. So it's like they don't wanna cause an issue or anything.
Naghahanap tayo ng ano eh.
Exactly. So actually apparently 50% of people are securely attached. And majority of them are already in relationships because they're the ones who actually want to work things out. But the thing is, for someone who is securely attached, they're the ones who are seemingly boring.
Right.
But again, just because they're secure doesn't necessarily mean that they also have some things that they don't have things that they should work on.
Right.
But they're unproblematic, which is a problem for you. And so you see it as a red flag because you're so used to having to chase this person, having to want to constantly text this person, or have them like what do you call this? Get defensive because you bring something up instead. But then this person is just like, oh no, that makes sense. So the boringness is not necessarily a red flag. It's just that
it's just that you were used to stress.
You're used to the cortisol levels being high in your body. And so you're seeking that out. So when you meet someone who is boring at first, especially if you've dated a few times already, but they are interesting, but they are kind of boring when it comes to like wanting to start a conflict or something.
Your own drama addiction.
Yes. It's something to consider. It's like it's not a bad thing. They're boring because they're not really hurting anybody by being boring. Yeah.
Okay, now we get to the smart part. You're going to give us your top 5 tips to dating smart.
Okay. We've already discussed a few of them.
Yes.
So first one, whether you're healing or not, it's okay to date, but date at your own pace. So because at the end of the day, like what I mentioned earlier, whether it was before the episode or during, I can't remember, but being with a partner will mirror the parts of you that you need to heal or haven't yet addressed. So that's why it's also important to have that kind of person in your life. And that's how you know you've truly healed.
Yeah.
So that you've integrated like what it is that you've learned about yourself and how you can be better if you are better. So date at your own pace. You don't have to rush into anything. But at the same time, the second takeaway is for you to be intentional. Make your intentions clear. That is the trend for 2025 after all. Be a little bit unapologetic and don't settle with somebody who says that they don't know what they want. There are people who know what they want. You know what you want. So especially if you're in your 30s or 40s, you should.
So if your tita says, wag na masyadong choosy.
Wag na masyadong choosy.
So be choosy.
Yeah, why not? Like it's real because it allows people like by knowing the statistic of like how women would like to date now. I feel like it's like it allows for potentially it could allow for men to understand like okay, maybe I should step up a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe I should figure out like what I really want, and maybe I should be clearer too. But again, that's hypothetical. I don't really know.
So if you're choosy, tas wala talaga, change countries.
Well,
Change the geographical,
well, sige, if nothing really much has changed, then use that downtime when like learning more about yourself because
Right.
in like there was a study that said that people who are in partnerships or are in romantic partnerships or no sorry individuals who are single are more likely successful in pursuing their personal goals as compared to people who are in romantic partnerships because it really gives them that autonomy. And so it's not a bad thing if you stay single as long as you actually work towards the goals that you want.
Yeah.
And that you work towards the growth that you want and have that community around you that really that you can relate to, because of course like romantic relationships are just one kind of relationship that you have in your life. If you have people around you who love you, who tell you the truth and are and who are there to support you, like that, it's also a win.
You must have other kinds of relationship besides romantic. Because if that's all you have, nako, patay.
Yeah, and apparently, and I mentioned this like even like in the podcast competition before that 80% of your what was it? Oh no. The key to your quality of life is in the quality of your relationships, not the quantity. So that is from the longitudinal study in Harvard about like, what makes these people have such good,
Happy lives.
like happy lives,
Right,
live
right.
happy lives in the long run. So yeah, be intentional. And then also, I think I touched on this talking about the second part, which is like, don't forget to date yourself too. That's also how you know like, what you enjoy doing. And also helps you communicate to your partner like what you enjoy doing instead of like anything you want.
Right.
Diba?
Bahala ka na. Kahit ano.
Diba? So you can date yourself too. It's and it's fun. Like for you, if you are comfortable with yourself, with just yourself, dining out by yourself, I think that's a superpower. A lot of people are still very conscious
Yes.
about that. And finally, elevate your dating experiences with shared experiences.
Right.
So it's not just dinner and a date, movie and a date. Make sure there's a shared activity. So one of the trending things now, I think from Tinder, it's called what is it? Kismet, KISS-MET, because people always want the meet cute, diba? They want the spontaneous meeting of like their partner. But the thing is, majority of that happens online. So what follows is this so-called Kismet, which is basically focusing on spontaneous activities or like they call it unscripted experiences. For example, if you go to the mall, it's like pretend you're gonna go window shopping with each other, make it into like a dress them up or something. Just those things, and have a really good experience out of that. Go pottery making, go painting,
Right.
rock climbing,
Creative
yeah.
or sporty.
yeah, going on
pursuits.
hikes also, because that also lets you know something about the person if that's something that interests them, or like it allows you to have a deeper connection because of that shared experience that you can
Right.
talk about like in the years to come.
Right. Great. And so if there's only one thing that our listeners should remember about being a smart girl when it comes to dating, what is the main takeaway?
Okay, so I don't know if you know Serena Kerrigan, but she is the one who started the phrase like do it for the plot. And a lot of people have taken that into different contexts. Date him for the plot. So it's like date a bad boy for the plot, right?
Since you were a main character.
Exactly. So I would like to correct that a little bit, and by saying it, do it for the plot, but for the right arc. Know in which character arc you're in now, and then do it for the plot that you want for this particular arc and how you want it to turn out. So
wow.
There we go.
Great. You control your narrative.
Exactly.
Especially your love narrative.
Yeah.
Thank you so much again, Nikki.
Of course.
Where can people find out more about you and your coaching?
Yes, it is at Nuggets of Nikki. I am on Instagram and on TikTok. The TikTok is still fairly new, but mostly on Instagram as well. You can DM me on that account or even on my personal account at Nikki Porter with 3 R's at the end on Instagram.
And you can find her in the Salcedo Market every Saturday
for
selling.
For Hot Tub Bakery, I sell cookies and bagels usually, and so if that is something that you enjoy or want to try, then drop by. I'm inside the park, so I want to see it there.
All right, thank you, Nikki.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to You Can Do This. If you want to know more about me, visit Mirza.com. That's MYRZA.com. And follow me at Mirza Season on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, and LinkedIn. If you like this episode, please don't forget to rate it 5 stars. Hit the follow button on your podcast streaming platforms and hit the notification bell to get alerted every time we release a new episode. Catch you at our next convo, and always remember, you can do this.
The opinions of podcast creators, hosts, and guests are not necessarily reflective of the official stance of the Pod Network Entertainment, its hosts, or other network programs. The content created by the people behind the podcast is personal and not meant to harm any religion, ethnicity, group, organization, company, or individual.